Hello, beautiful humans. My name is Annie, and this is Holy Hell Hope, which is meant to be a haven for those of us who might be feeling frazzled in this day and age. This is the very tail end of July 4th, and I wanted to make a video because July 4th is it's a challenging idea for me right now. I have never been especially patriotic. I had not ever given thought to what it meant to be an American until I found all of my assumptions about our dignity and our values to be incorrect. So, I have decided to create a spiritual pep talk for those of us who might be feeling a little bit frazzled energetically. I know that not all of my friends are spiritually inclined, but I think that if you know me, if you jive with me, if you're here, chances are you are sensitive to other people. You are sensitive to the world around you. You strive for awareness, and those qualities certainly can be compatible with spirituality. I find that tarot cards and oracle cards can be a incredibly helpful self self-care tool, a therapy tool, because of the richness of the imagery, because art is such an excellent way to connect to our subconscious, to our lizard brains, to our inner children, what have you. Art is an incredibly effective way to do that. And that's why I enjoy using tarot cards and oracle cards to gain some insight, to piece together some ideas into what will hopefully for you be a message that will resonate on some level. I'm not predicting a damn thing. This is not my intention. I'm not saying this is going to give you spiritual insights as to the next month of your life. That's not my point. What I am about here is simply saying if you clicked on this video, if you like one of these stones, if you want to pick a card, then I've got a pep talk for you. So let us begin. I'm going to burn a little bit of bay leaf. Personally, I don't use white sage. I have one bundle that I bought a long time ago, so I still use individually the stems sometimes, but I know that it's just not something that belongs to my folk, so I don't prefer to use it. And because I'm a relatively latecomer in the new age witchy scene, I don't have a nostalgic attachment to the scent, so I can use a variety of herbs which don't always burn as cooperatively as sage otherwise might, but bringing in some good vibes. And then you can simply toss it in a shot glass and reuse it, keep it safe. Fire safety, guys, as you well know. So I've got myself situated here with 3 piles of cards, and the various cards are going to achieve various goals. This is the Crystal Unicorn Tarot by Pamela Chen. And I've used 3 cards from this deck for each pile to represent the kinds of situations you might be running into that are creating emotional or spiritual speed bumps for you. Then I have this Halloween oracle, which of course I enjoy aesthetically. Stacy DeMarco, absolutely gorgeous artwork. And that's going to represent the aspect of your shadow, which is really just a term that refers to things that are psychologically uncomfortable for you. Things that might touch old wounds or otherwise be going on for you. Um, Let me think here. We also have the Oracle of the Shapeshifters by Lucy Cavendish. And that's going to represent the transformative energy that's available to you at this time if you choose to look towards it. A mission if you choose to accept, if you will. And then finally, 2 cards each from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle card deck. Kyle Gray is, he makes beautiful decks, really and truly. And what appeals to me about this one, which is I purchased recently, is that this isn't about specific deities. This isn't about specific religions. These are archetypes that are within all of us, available to all of us, and can represent the kinds of energies we might want to be plugging into. And I pulled one one energy to help you release whatever might need to be released in your life. Anything that needs to be like pushed away or diminished, or, your focus, taken away from that. And then someone to help you enact whatever is the creative agenda of your soul, perhaps. So those are the purposes of the cards that I've chosen. Hello. This guy's a jumper. I really enjoy the color of this stone. I do have some skepticism about the magic of the stones, but good Lord, they're beautiful. And beauty is absolutely one of the primary ways that I connect to the Holy Spirit, quite frankly. So let me introduce you to the 3 stones that I am offering as signifiers of your 3 choices, 1, 2, and 3. And I'll put a timestamp in the comment section of this video. And yeah, from the left, pile number 1 is golden quartz, which is a very, very fun color connected to the solar plexus. And I think it has a little bit of what is called, in terrible accent, chatoyant, which is the shine, the glimmer of iridescence some stones might have in the light. So golden quartz is good for connecting your will, your gut instinct, your chutzpah, your personal will with divine will. So this is for your protection, cleansing energy, but also energizing, because yellow is upbeat. It's a thumbs up type of deal. This is the desert rose selenite. This stone happens to be meaningful to me because I have used it so often at the suicide hotline. Quite frankly, as a worry stone, kind of as a texture to hold on to and squeeze real hard when a moment might be difficult. And I think that's poignant because, in fact, the desert rose symbolizes resilience. Selenite in general is understood to be kind of like moonlight in solid form. This is selenite. So as you may or may not see, it's got a nice shine. It's got some lines in it, and it looks just like a shimmery shaft of the full moon. This is the same essential nature with the addition of sand. So this is, wind bearing down on evaporated salt and sand, and shaping what withstands that pressure. So this is an excellent stone for, again, protection, but specifically inner strength, the strength to hold on and keep moving. And then pink opal, Andean opal, is a very mellow pink, kind of a salmon color. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing stone, but there's something so incredibly endearing about it. I think it's because it looks like a buckeye seed to me. But the actual symbolism of it is a stone of renewal or a stone of hope. So the The vibe is to soothe someone who might be feeling emotionally overwhelmed. It can help with gentle healing of some old emotional wounds, and ultimately helping, clear some space in your energy for like altruism, for like charity work and all that good jazz. So those are our three piles, our three stones, our three vibes. And I'm going to give you a minute and wave my magic selenite wand. And you just pick whichever one you like, whether it's the way that the cards are splayed, the way that the stone catches your eye, the way that you like the layout in terms of space. Make your choice wisely. Ooh. Okay, so starting with group number 1, the golden quartz. 3 cards of tarot for situations that might be causing you some trouble. Hello, this is the 9 of Swords. This is the up all night with some anxiety, with worries in your own life, of course. In the context of this reading, this can also tie into the anxiety that is at the baseline of like the American zeitgeist right now. And I understand that some viewers might not be American, but it's the 4th of July, and that is what I am here about right now. Trying to grapple with the mixed feelings some of us might have as Americans in 2019. Mixed feelings indeed. So the 9 of Swords is traditionally about someone who is overwhelmed with thoughts. The sword is the air element. With thoughts and communication, things left unsaid, the worries that wake you up at 3 in the morning. You also have the King of Pentacles, which is a card that is about mastering physical security and stability, both like literally financially, but also just in terms of concept, of ethic. King of Pentacles basically can be reflecting here a concern that that the foundation is kind of eroding underneath us to a certain extent. It feels like it's really hard to know who we can count on, who is solid in the public square, in the public circle of influence, who can help us figure out what stability should look like in this day and age, and what institutions aren't being undermined. Sorry, I'm not trying to be cynical. It's just my natural vibe, I guess. 4 of Wands. I watch a lot of political tarot, and this often represents the White House in specifically political questions. But also, in general, this card is about community celebrating in institutions on a smaller level. It can be about the type of community, like block party, county fairs and YMCA roller skating or whatever, opportunities to connect with your co-citizens, with your American brethren and sistren on an everyday level. So this, I think, all told to me suggests that if you were drawn to the golden quartz, it might be because you are needing a little bit of an energy boost, a little oomph of joy, because you've been experiencing some real anxiety, specifically about stability on whatever level. For yourself, I mean, when your financial needs are not met, when it is hard to pay the bills, we're talking Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You may not have a lot of emotional energy for the luxury of spiritual concerns, in as much as you need a solid foundation. We all do, as a collective and as individuals. And if we don't feel like we are having mastery of our sense of stability, if we feel like we're being buffeted or undermined by outside forces, then that can be leading into that anxiety. And the Four of Wands speaks to the kinds of community that we can create, like, church potluck, bi-monthly book club. I myself have a bit of a coven, by which I mean a couple of buddies who come over twice a month, and we do crafts that are witchcraft, some tarot reading type of thing. But maybe feeling a disconnect from community, feeling insecure, not having security, feeling anxious and isolated in those emotions. That might be something that resonates for you. Maybe it doesn't, but we shall continue. As a shadow aspect is the skull of darkness, blind spots. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, gosh, when your base needs are not feeling met, whether literally in terms of buying the groceries and paying the rent, or if your sense of feeling like the universe makes sense and that life is coherent, and you might have any level of distress about this, but because of the intensity of that emotion, you may have your blind spots. You may well have aspects in your life that you are not aware of or perceiving very clearly because of this very, very serious and intense concern. Let me just touch base with the booklet to see if there might be something in particular that speaks out on this, but yeah. I mean, this is a very appropriate card for a shadow card in general, because it is about needing to make the conscious decision to look at the things that you have been kind of skipping over, cruising past in your again, very, very valid concern with living your daily life. But the thing is, when you got shadow aspects and you're not necessarily doing anything with them, they can wreak any kind of havoc in your life. By which I mean a pervasive lack of security can make you more defensive in general, maybe more inclined to take things personally. That kind of slows down a lot of your daily communication with your coworkers, with your friends or partners, kind of creating emotional speed bumps that aren't necessary, and taking a good look at what's going on in your own head, in addition to and around the big worries. Might be an excellent idea for you at this time. The transformative energy available to you is the Mermaid of Immersion, complete commitment. Okay. So, the idea here is that, so this seems contradictory, because I had been giving a bit of the impression that perhaps you were, feeling a little bit too deeply in your feelings. You needed to gain some perspective and see a little bit more, more of a big picture. The Mermaid of Immersion seems to contradict that in terms of encouraging you to immerse yourself in something. So, because this is a spiritual pep talk, and this is all in the context of an energy that is available to help catalyze change for you, I would suggest that the difference here is on picking on purpose what you want to be actively passionate about and engaged in. Incidentally, 44 is an angelic number. Numerologically, any doubled number resonates especially loudly, perhaps. Let's check in on the book here, number 44. Dun, 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 It has come time to completely involve yourself. You have been holding back. Only going so far with a new project or with a commitment to yourself, always pulling back at the last moment from taking that step. You are holding a part of yourself back, watching, judging, always assessing whether this is right or wrong. You're surrounding yourself with what you consider to be protection and what humans call buffer zones, and you claim you want change. You claim you wish to understand. You claim you wish to have this done. If this is true, then the time has come to take a deep breath, dive off the edge of the cliff, and immerse yourself fully in the waters of change. Go underneath to the truth of what has happened, and surround yourself only with what supports that change. The time has come to remove the buffer zones and to have enough faith in your friendships and family relations to know that if they are meant to be, they will be when you return. You do not have to take this plunge. It is not compulsory, but it is what you have claimed you want. Come with me. I will teach you how to breathe underwater, and then finally the truth you have claimed you have been reaching for will be yours. Take the plunge. Interesting. Okay. Well, there's certainly a compatibility here in terms of wanting to expand the scope of your awareness, wanting to throw yourself into something positively. I mean, that was an excerpt from the book. I'm not trying to take all your time. So it seems to me as though the primary message here is not necessarily to wallow in those anxieties or to let the enormity of the big security questions overwhelm you, but to take a deep breath, take a jump, take a good look around you, I guess, once you're in the water. Experience it as fully as possible, and tying this in, seek perhaps a sense of community with which to do that. Let's see who can help. The guardian energy that can help you to release what needs to be released, which might be tied to this shadow concern that you may or may not have been recently overlooking, things that are causing you distress. Dun 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 dun. Spring, see your seeds grow. Well, it's July, but respect. So this oracle is kind of cool. They've got 30 different archetypes, as I mentioned, but also a number of guardians representing the various directions, elements, angels, etc., etc. But then in the back, he has a handful of power symbols that essentialize things, like the seasons in particular, and all kinds of good vibes. All right. Spring. See your seeds grow. Embrace the change that is on the horizon. Allow your dreams to become reality. So, let's see here. You are ready to bring to life all of your ideas, inspirations, and projects. When this card appears, you're moving into a space that allows you to really grow, expand, and create in a way you've never done before. There are opportunities for abundance, including financial growth, and if you're starting something new, prepare for a major expansion in your life and soul. Well, hell yeah! And of course, it's worth pointing out that in addition to some beautiful, maybe lilac, we have a wild hare imagery here, which is evocative of fertility and agility and speed. So this is a very, very high vibe kind of boost of of energy, of joy, of chutzpah, like we were saying. I think that the emphasis on expansion and the potential for something beautiful and new to happen big ties in nicely to the idea of jumping in as that leap of faith. And then let's see, you also have as the one to help you enact whatever changes or whatever spiritual endeavors your soul is calling for, is the energy of the mountains. Encouragement to stand your ground. So, what are you doing, cards? Give me some whiplash here. All right. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So, it might be the case that the world has been making less and less sense to you, that you have been experiencing on an emotional level, on an interpersonal level, a financial level, some earthquakes, big or small. It's possible things may have crumbled in different areas of your life. It's possible. If you do not know where to stand safely, where you can stand strong and solid, then this card suggests that there are sources of that kind of strength, that kind of steadfastness. There are sources in your life that you may be overlooking. Steadfastness is not only fidelity between two people. It is not only a person's faith convictions. It can be beautifully tied to either of these ideas, but more than anything else, to me, this card is saying, if you feel swept away by your worries, find a rock. If you feel like you are drowning in a sea of emotion, find a rock. This is something I tell our callers often. Find just one thing in your life that you can still trust that has not changed through this crisis or these crises. And it could be the Bible. It could be your grandma. It could be, hell, it could be remembering how much you used to play basketball when you were in middle school and, finding a local pickup game. Anything that is still true, that is still solid, whether it is connected to another person's love or an institution structure or just your inner strength, your inner qualities. There are rocks around you that you can find. And if you're having trouble finding that, leave me a message. Email me at holyhellhope@gmail.com, and I will do what I can. So, there we go. Group number 1 may or may not be coherent. This is my very first effort at tarot reading on the video. So let me know what you think in the comment, the doobly-doos. Oh, and like and subscribe. I think I'm also supposed to say that. Pretty sure. I'm going to get better at it. All right, moving on. Group 2. The Desert Rose Selenite. Beautiful. Okay. What might be situations that you have been encountering that have been spiritual or emotional speed bumps? We got the 8 of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, and the 5 of Cups. All right. I am intimately familiar with these cards. This is the major arcana in the bunch, and I love that it's aspected in the center, meaning that there is fate going on here. This is some big dog stuff. And it might be the case that you are concerned about the fate of our society, the arc of justice over the course of history. That's an understandable concern. But you also might be grappling with the question of plot twists in life, making sense of sudden loss or gain. You know, any kind of inexplicable change that happens to you. It can often cause faith crises when it's an unpleasant change, of course, because you may well be um, praying for a better outcome, and maybe it doesn't come. Um, However, the Wheel of Fortune is one of my favorite cards because it is the number 10 in the major arcana. It is associated with a spiritual figure that I'm a big fan of, the Archangel Sandalphon. Ophan in Hebrew is the wheel. And so this ties into the symbolism of the natural cycles of life. So as much as this can be, you know, a dramatic plot twist card, for me it's also sometimes, you know, the steady rolling cycle. In terms of situational concerns, it might be that you feel trapped in a cycle. It might be that you feel that there is a chain of events or patterns or toxic dynamics in your life that are just getting really repetitive, and you're good. You're tapping out on that. You're feeling pretty done with that. And that's kind of the vibe that is suggested because of the emotional meaning of the cards next to them, or next to this one. Because the Eight of Swords, as you can see, has an imprisonment symbolism, but it is also always emphasized in every version of the Rider-Waite traditional tarot and decks based on it, as this one is. It is always emphasized that the bindings are loose, that the person who is bound up and perceives themselves as trapped has the ability to to untie those binds and take off the blindfold and walk away. You know, take a sword with you if you want. You know, be prepared. It's tricky with the unicorn deck because, of course, unicorns don't have thumbs, so it might be a little bit less believable that this gal can just shimmy up against the swords and cut the binds away. But snark aside, I love this deck. The message here is that you might have some thought patterns that are destructive for you, that are kind of eating your brain from the inside out. I mean, I know that sounds really melodramatic. There is a term called cognitive distortions, which is a collection of patterns that humans fall into a lot. You know, catastrophizing, you know, kind of always assuming the worst in a situation. Black and white thinking, feeling as though it's definitely got to be either or, and being very, very uncomfortable with the gray, you know, both and area. So the idea is that you may have some patterns in your thinking because, again, swords, air, intellect, communication. You may have some patterns in your thinking that are holding you back unnecessarily. And the card is designed to emphasize that you are absolutely empowered to loosen up the situation and walk away. That pep talk vibe is also echoed in this card because the Five of Cups is about generally loss and disappointment, because you always have a figure who seems to be grieving the knocked over cups, spilt wine, perhaps in this case. But there is always, in the Rider-Waite deck and those associated with it, there are always a few cups standing upright behind it, behind the figure. And the idea is, if you take a moment to look around, you may notice that there are still sources of emotional, of fulfillment, emotional support, which is the essential symbolism of cups in general in tarot. There's also an emphasized symbolism of this bridge, which is again a reminder that you are empowered to regroup in the situation, to acknowledge your losses, your sincere losses, and also to choose consciously, and maybe every day, and that can be exhausting, and I am with you, but to choose every day to focus on the cups that are still standing and to head towards the bridge over troubled waters, so to speak. So, taken together, these cards suggest that you might be feeling, frazzled might be a good word for your vibe at the moment. Feeling a little bit claustrophobic, mentally or emotionally, feeling, feeling like you have experienced many losses in your own life. That's absolutely without question, often the case. And also, if you happen to be politically engaged and follow the news and the changes being made by the administration, you might be sometimes feeling overwhelmed by the number of cups that are just getting knocked over. Just, we didn't need those, I guess. I digress. Needing to make the conscious choice to identify what we still have that is positive, that is a source of inspiration or of support or of forward momentum. So to figure out what resources that we have and making the decision to utilize them, making the decision to, to unwind the binding and to take off that blindfold, and to understand that absolutely it may be the fact that life throws curveballs that certainly can't be undone. And I will never minimize the significance of some of the events that can really throw us for a loop. But the cards suggest that it is especially important to choose positive action as often as you can, which is a challenge. And if it's particularly a challenge for you, then please email me at holyhellhope@gmail.com, and I'd love to talk with you about what might be a few ideas of what could help, a couple of just words of encouragement. Let me know what I can do. So, shadow, skeleton, strength. I love this card. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's a card about emotional vulnerability, but also kind of just being a realist, getting down to the bare bones of the situation. Again, kind of assessing, what have we lost? What do we have? Assessing, how inhibited are we really? Do we have, room to work around or through between the swords? The skeleton card suggests that in the areas in your life where you are most psychologically uncomfortable, it would benefit you to identify things that are foundational for you. Whether it is, for me, it's humanism every day, all day, every day. But for a lot of folks, it can be faith in something up above. It can be the love for your child or children. But the things that are most essential, the things that are most true, if you can gain through various techniques, but if you can gain the clarity to identify the bare bones situation, then you are empowered to act. In terms of transformative action, You have the energy of your imaginary friend. Childhood treasures resurface. I love this card. This is a newish deck to me. I have never interacted with this card, but it makes me it makes me giggle. I love that the dragon is also a monarch butterfly because really, when we imagine, there's absolutely no reason not to put those wings on that lizard. Why the hell not? Um, this is truly delightful, and it reminds me of a concept that I bring up a lot on the Crisis and Suicide Hotline, which is the idea of a comfort object. I ask, is there something that you own from when you were little, or any object that you own that reminds you of a time and place where you felt home? That you had a sense of safety, a sense of security, a sense of refuge, a sense of, really being able to trust your everyday life. And it's really as simple as, I still have my baby blanket. A lot of folks have maybe a teddy bear. And so I often encourage folks to, if they're experiencing anxiety, having difficulty sleeping, various situations, if you have a comfort object, take comfort in it. If you have a bear, snuggle up. And in terms of the symbolism of this card in particular, if you have an imaginary friend, there is no shame in that game in terms of engaging a persona, an idea, having conversations. It's a way to bounce ideas back and forth in your own mind. It's something that you have control over as a conscious mind driving the imagination process. And for those of us who just enjoy getting a kick out of things, you can stick butterfly wings on dragons. Hell yes! So, childhood treasures resurface, going back to the things that were valuable, that gave value, that you built your sense of values upon. Go back to that. Beautiful cards. I love that. So what is a guardian energy that can help you to release whatever you need to kind of push back, push away, minimize, cap back on, be mindful of, etc. So your left-hand guardian is the Traveler. Move in a new direction. I like that. I like that very much. And it seems as though I know that this artist has tried to go for some really nice diversity in his depictions. It might be that this is meant to be kind of a Romani woman, traditionally dressed. Let's check out the book, just because I want to be especially legit with something as significant as a traveler. I know that I want to say Ireland, might be Great Britain as a whole, but I know that traveler is sometimes a disparaging term for nomadic families that aren't considered to be valuable members of society, I guess. So, gosh, my mind collects weird information. Yep, there we go. As I was saying, the Traveler card represents the gypsy spirit within. The opportunity to move in a new direction is coming your way, and ancestral wisdom is encouraging you to welcome it with open arms. Interesting. Going on a trip is an exciting process because not only do you learn about the world, you learn about yourself. The card comes up when you have a chance to go through a process of awakening and understand even more about the amazing qualities you have to share with the world. And often such journeys can be lonely, but this in itself can teach you that you are never really alone and your angels and ancestors are there for you. So the last spiritual bit may or may not be of interest to you, but I do very much like the emphasis here, not only on the newness of the direction, but anchoring the choice of direction in ancestral wisdom, anchoring the new in the old, calling on the wisdom you might have heard growing up, calling on the wisdom of your gut instinct, calling on something that you have already have. Again, going back to resources that are already existent in your world, already available to you. It might be bare bones. Our callers are sometimes, kind of discouraged when I get to the basic stuff like breathing exercises and comfort objects, and they're like, is that all you have to offer? And I'm like, it can be very straightforward, is the thing. If you feel overwhelmed, like life is doing things to you and not for you, then anything that you can choose to do that helps is empowering and positive. It is a step in the right direction. It is progress. You do not have to quantify it. You do not have to qualify it. Progress is progress. So, the emphasis on journeying pairs nicely with the image of this bridge across those troubled waters. It pairs nicely with the image of the wheel of time, the wheel of the cycles of nature that keep turning and rolling forward. And again, ties nicely with the idea that there is sure as heck right there, some room for this unicorn to walk away if she made that choice. She is empowered to do so. So the traveler energy, the consciousness, the intentionality, demanding your right to every opportunity you can find to make on-purpose decisions about how you're going to run your life based on the values that are true to you at the end of the day, every day. And then we got an enacting energy as well. The energy of the stag, thrust, awkward, trust and thrive. All right, so I'm going to bust out the book again because I really don't want to fail to do justice to these ideas and to these images. But what I do know is that this image, the tripled spiral, is called a triskelion. It's a Celtic symbol of the Trinity. I believe that it represents the simultaneous flows of various forces that in tandem end up working out to be our lived life, our lived reality every day. Let's see what the book has got for that one. Dun, 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 dun. Come alive and thrive. Stand in your light and glory with grace and majesty. Excellent. In the Celtic traditions, the stag with his crown of antlers is known as the king of the forest. Then the stag totem brings protection in challenging times. And in Native American traditions, the stag is greatly loved because deer have provided food for the people and materials for medicine items such as drums, rattles, smudge fans. The stag is prey. Has been hunted and still is. But the stag is a symbol of strength, dignity, and poise. When this card arises, it can also represent fertility and sexuality. Maybe an opportunity to explore your sexual side with your spiritual integrity supporting you on that journey. Interesting. A little bit of a sexy curveball on that one. Let's see how we can tie this in. Empowerment. Empowerment. Absolutely empowerment. There is a nice pattern of yellow tones here, though I understand you didn't choose the yellow stone. The psychology of the color yellow is again that solar plexus chakra. It's the personal will. It's the forward momentum. Confidence, drive. And I think that the cards are encouraging you to, yes, be creative. Certainly the strong, green growth energy as well. Be creative, but assess the flow. Assess the flow of the forces that are affecting your life that are outside of your control. If you don't happen to be into tarot, you may not know that the major arcana, which are the cards numbered 0 to 21 in Roman numerals, the major arcana represent forces that are beyond our control, that are spiritual or abstract or philosophic in nature, whereas the minor arcana, the 8 of, 5 of, the swords and the cups, the minor arcana has to do with things that we are empowered to do something about today, now, when we say go. So, assess the flow of the forces that are working around you and to you, and figure out the resources that you've got, the weapons that might be at hand for you. Travel lightly, metaphorically, if you so choose. Get back down to the bare bones. But as a coherent message, this is absolutely about empowerment, an acknowledgement that you are not the only deciding factor in your life, but also that there is a great deal that you have control over, that you can exert control over. And again, if you're having particular trouble, drop me an email. I'd love to talk with you and see what's going on and if I can help. Excellent. And then the third group, the pink Andean opal. What is your set of circumstances and situations that could be spiritual or emotional speed bumps? We have the Knight of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, and the Eight of Cups. All right. So, zeroing in on the most emotionally charged of the cards, ironic because this is the only one that is actually about the earth symbol, pentacles, coins, money, money, money. This card is about being out in the cold. It is about being outcast, being marginalized, being shunned, being stigmatized. Specifically, the traditional imagery is that this is a wounded young person with perhaps a mother outside of a church. Here's the thing. The card does not specify whether the figures are walking away from or towards the door to the church. And though it is not the case any longer, because of security concerns, just, again, that American zeitgeist. A lot of churches do not leave their doors unlocked consistently the way that they used to, often as a matter of principle, as a matter of hospitality and welcome. But it has traditionally been the case that, specifically at Catholic churches, if you need to go somewhere, you can go there. So, this card does not specify whether the unicorns are moving towards a refuge or if they have been turned away from a refuge. But as of right now, they are in the cold. So I want to acknowledge that it may be the case that this pile spoke to you, this card speaks to you, or what have you. You may belong to one of the communities that is being actively denigrated, being disrespected by the administration, but not by the country. But not always by the country. Let's tie this in here. The Knight of Cups. This is a romantic figure. This is the active agent who seeks the Holy Grail. So he might be on a romantic quest, but he also might be bringing you the cup with a tempting offer. Now, the Knight of Cups can be a positive kind of dream come true character in an authentic way. But I think in the context of the situations that might be causing you trouble, the Knight of Cups can be tied to the idea of the cult of personality. Can be tied to the idea that, you know, people are so caught up in the knight in shining armor, the person who is charismatic, who, you know, carries the shiny cup. The cups are emotions, are our souls. So the Knight of Cups could be a figure that knows how to use dog whistle terms or to pull on your heartstrings. In fairness, you know, this is true on both sides. We have cult of personality in Donald Trump, and arguably also with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of whom I happen to be a huge fan. But I acknowledge that the cult of personality is a problematic factor in the way our society seems to be deteriorating. And across from it, and therefore kind of sandwiching this much more material, a sense of material lack. It does not necessarily mean that you are hard on money. It could mean that you're flat broke. But a material sense of lack of support and stability, and bookended by cups about, or cards about cups, but specifically about kind of about wistfulness, about longing. The Eight of Cups is about being dissatisfied. You have gathered up 8 cups, and that's a pretty significant number. That's plenty of beverage. But this card is about abandoning the project in search of something better, something more fulfilling. So it could be in the context of the 4th of July, reading, spiritual and emotional speed bumps, tying these themes into the card. It might be that you are concerned about whether the energy, the agitation around how unacceptable so many things are about the country right now, that energy might be waning, that people might be wandering off. Empathy fatigue, certainly. Media fatigue, certainly. Being dissatisfied with the resources available, feeling like all media is biased, so, why bother trying to keep up with the world? Understandable. Lots of different contexts in which this could be relevant. But in terms of a 4th of July reading on spiritual concerns, it seems here that you might be a part of or an ally to a marginalized community concerned about the way that social influencers are shaping conversations in ways that may not at all be helpful and may not be able to cement the interest and the advocacy and the agita that it takes to get some change going. It's noteworthy that all three of these cards belong to the elements that are passive, that are feminine, by which I mean these are not active cards. You might be feeling disempowered in the face of, media influencer bullshit, feeling misunderstood, isolated, or again, in respect, you may literally be having financial concerns as well. But also, yourself may not be fulfilled, but you're certainly aware of how restless and discontented the people around you are. So, a psychologically uncomfortable element that is worth you paying attention to is zombie control. So, in terms of the way that this oracle deck could be argued to parallel the tarot at all, this would correlate to the devil card because the emphasis is on being chained to something, having decisions made for you, having the society, change around you without your, without your permission. I mean, without your agreement. Gosh, this can also tie into the possibility that you yourself could be giving away too much of your power to the situation, whether it is to an overuse of social media, feeling overly, compelled to be connected to the media, etc. It could absolutely be your concern about the other side, whichever side is the other side for you, and the concern that they're not really thinking things out too clearly. They're not really using their common sense, and that's a fair point. That's a fair point. It ties into the idea of cult of personality getting caught up in a charismatic person's message and just kind of going with it until it affects somebody that you care about. Zombie in control. So, in a setting like this, you're probably very aware of the forces that are exerting control and influence over your life. So it may not be necessarily the case that you need to be aware of external control, but a matter of your own personal relationship with your power. Okay. Even in this trifecta of a situation, the most empowered thing to do would be to, if you feel marginalized, to hunt down a community that exists or create one on your own. If you're concerned about social influencers, then you can certainly be, be skeptical, be critical. Don't be a troll, because that's not necessary. But you can push back. But also, if you're feeling really plugged into this dissatisfaction, this discontent, wandering off for something better might be a welcome idea in terms of getting some diversity in your media consumption, and then media in terms of like not just like news companies, but also mediums in terms of reading books, watching movies, watching cartoon series, where it's a monster of the week, or where there's no overarching drama, situations to keep track of, kind of losing yourself in that kind of escapism a little bit. It's not healthy to take that to an extreme, but it can be very healthy to add that as a counterbalance to what might feel like, some element of obsession that you may or may not have in your life. The transformative energy available to you is a time to say goodbye. Something is about to end for now. The number 13. So in this oracle deck, this would correlate most closely to the card called Death, which is not always literally the death of any living thing, but is always the end of something significant. It doesn't have to be something that feels like the end of the world, but the death of something significant, and the necessary, the just definitional, like one day passes into the next, the necessary transition into whatever comes after that death. Let's see, the transformative energy that is available to you here. So interesting to have the death symbolism next to the zombie card. And incidentally, this speaks to traditional, I believe, Haitian hoodoo, rather than New Orleans voodoo. I think it's Haitian hoodoo primarily, in which there are beliefs that you can use various chemicals to suppress the decision-making abilities of another person. That's a whole interesting backstory that we could get into anytime. But as of right now, the point at hand. Okay. The Knight of Cups might, not be here, to give a stump speech. He might be crossing the river on a personal quest to mirror the idea of questing for something more fulfilling. In that sense, there would be a parallel of gosh, moving on as a euphemism for death. Ultimately, I feel, I don't mean to be redundant, because I know that this seems to be a part of all three of these messages, but it's about empowerment. It's about making the decision, as many decisions as you can, quite frankly, about what is and is not included in your life. You can, as an example, go on hiatus from social media and filter out those influences so that you can focus on transitioning into another, aspect of your personality, area of interest, a new hobby, a new entrepreneurial endeavor, etc., etc. But either way, all things die. Some folks believe that some folks can come back, which is not really relevant here, except for the aspect of control and of personal agency and human empowerment. Quite frankly, it's frustrating to think of how disempowered we can feel in the face of so many changes in our daily reality. But this is a spiritual pep talk, so all right, who is your left-hand guardian? So someone who can help you to release whatever ties that might be binding you to unhealthy patterns, anything that could be compelling you in toxic ways to make self-destructive choices, etc. So what kind of energy can be helpful to you in this endeavor? Autumn, release the old and rest. Okay, we've got some consistency of theme on this one. Okay, this person is moving away. This person is in a life and death situation, possibly. This person is got some question marks over there. But then we got death, undead, release the undead, the emotionally, metaphorically, figuratively undead, release the old and rest. So again, let's go back to the proper book so as to show respect for these symbols. Let's see. Autumn is when trees are preparing for the long cold winter and therefore must let go of all the weight that they are carrying in order to continue to grow and prosper. They shed those leaves, and sometimes you too just have to surrender an aspect of yourself in order to continue to grow and prosper. The raven on the autumn card shows that there is an opportunity to heal at this time. In Celtic animal medicine, the raven is the bird of healing and initiation. The healing it brings is a shift that allows you to move into a more powerful psychic space where you can be more aware of your needs and desires and be better supported. So, as macabre as it may seem, this is a very encouraging message about making the absolute most out of experiences of loss. There's no point in denying that the cards suggest that you might be going through something like, okay, so a term that could be relevant for you would be the term ego death. It might be that the world is so enraging or topsy-turvy that you are diving deep on some of the foundational aspects of yourself, and maybe digging up some old wounds or some skeletons in the closet. The idea here is to make the most of the situation, releasing the old and resting. Recuperation is key. Right? The healing, the self-care, which again can tie into, putting the cell phone away. The self-care, the decision to move towards any refuge that you can find, and I promise you that refuges exist. In a literal sense, there are absolutely communities, both in real life, in person, and online, on the phone, etc. There are refuges for you. I mean for this website to be, or this channel to be one, but also if you are having a real hard time finding a place where you feel like you can breathe and be, drop me an email at holyhellhope@gmail.com, and I will, I might be able to offer some ideas or some resources, some insights or leads, for you to improve your situation. And in the spirit of that improvement of situation, this is the guardian energy that is available to help you to enact what needs to change or happen in your spiritual development. Whatever it is that needs to, you must die unto yourself. This is not necessarily a baptismal situation, but some kind of dying to yourself. The helpful energy here is the direction guardian. Choose your path. Well now. Okay. So, travel pattern. This ties in nicely to the, at least, imagery of the tarot card, the World, and the Wheel of Fortune, because these are the symbols of the 4 directions, the 4 elements, the 4 archangels, etc., etc. Let me go ahead and see what the book has to say about that. All right. Okay. So this card is helpful if you are at a crossroads. If you do not know which way to go, if you are unsure of what is right for you, or if you are unsure of the bigger picture of the situation, this card represents the forces that are available to help you to discern what is best for everyone involved. Specifically, the Direction Guardian card refers to the vision of the Hebrew prophet Ezekiel, who is said to have seen an angel with 4 different faces. One was a child cherub, one a bull, a lion, and an eagle. The four faces show that angels can appear in many guises and guide us in many different directions, always for our highest good. Your path is not set in stone. Your angels and guides, your companions, or the energies around you, however you would frame it, these folks have no expectation for you. And you don't have to have expectations for yourself, because there are many directions that you can take. None of them are wrong, inasmuch as every direction available to you offers an opportunity to grow and to learn. But life is to be enjoyed and savored. So if you know there is a decision to be made, and especially if you've been feeling indecisive, this is a nudge to go ahead and pick a path that you know is going to make you light up and choose with your heart. So, yeah, definitely a necessary time of transition. Something is coming to an end. You yourself are moving on. You are personally discontented with either your either and really, but you are unhappy with your material financial situation. You are unhappy with the way that you are being treated by society at large or your particular community. You are sick of the talking heads. You are pretty sure there's got to be something out there that's better than all this BS, and you're not really sure what. The internet can show you a million things, but can't help you to discern the best direction for you to choose on purpose to go with your agency. But your agency is affirmed. You are empowered to cope with the necessary ending that is in play for you. And again, that doesn't literally mean that there's going to be something devastating going on in your life. But it could be suggesting that there is an idea, a belief, something that continues to hurt you that you need to get rid of. You need to gosh, I mean, when it comes to, the old lies that perhaps our families told us, whether they knew it or not, the stuff that really warped our perceptions of ourselves or the people around us. We get to make choices about the influences that we allow to help us develop our discernment, because we are the decision makers in our own lives. Amen, amen. Thank you for your patience. Turns out this video is silly long, and I may not do a video with the same number of such a variety of cards, but I hope that you may have enjoyed whichever segment you might have clicked on, or all three, two of the three, whatever. It's my hope that you may have gotten something from it. If so, I'd love to hear your feedback. I am receptive to any good faith feedback, positive or negative. And I, in fact, would be very appreciative of you giving me some constructive criticism if that's what you've got. But I definitely want to provide something helpful. So if this was enjoyable or illuminating, or you just, I don't know, you like the vibe, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and many blessings to you. Happy 4th of July. Let us, as each message emphasized, let us step into our empowerment and the right and the responsibility that we have to make choices about what we are going to care about, what we are going to stand for, what we will act on, who we will love, who we will stand by. Thank you for joining me, and blessings to you.